You are.
Lady,
When
get
you're
her, she went
ready.
down there.
Today.
So we know you were down.
Okay.
Your head up, get your back, choke. Oh. I'm not sure, but they would. Support, I mean, they.
All this stuff with good body presence.
So they like to see Delta and Delta County, so they like to see.
I don't think you do need gratifying.
Anything built there.
All right, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, the June 24th regular meeting of the Delta County Planning Commission. We'll start with a roll call. Start down there, Tony.
District 3,
District 1.
David Merrick, District 3.
Lansing Home District 2.
Wayne Bronis, District 2.
Kate Darlington, District 3.
Cindy Watson, District 1.
Warren Stanbrook, Community Development Director.
Brittany, 1.
Sean Gardner, Planning Department. Everett Gill, Code Compliance.
All right, does anyone have anything to add to the agenda? Or any corrections to the agenda? No? All right, we need to approve the minutes from the June 10th meeting.
I move to approve the meetings from the June 10th meeting. Please.
I'll second that.
All right, Lance, do you wanna?
Yeah, we need to, I need to make a motion to amend them because it states that Vice Darlington opened the meeting, should say chair. It's a minor thing, but
Okay.
so. Could have them like that.
I'd second his motion.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes with the minor edit to strike out vice and replace it with chair at the top where it says Vice Kate Darlington. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the main purpose of our meeting tonight is public hearing PLN 26-022 Peter Edwards, Clearwater Enterprises. We are considering a rezone. Looks like, well, does anyone who is not did anyone who's not the applicant sign in and wish to speak during public comment?
I'm not the applicant.
All right, you wish to speak during public comment?
Sure.
Okay, if you can please put your name on this clipboard up here, with your address.
I think you're.
My name's on there.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So the way the meeting's gonna work is we're gonna have a report from the staff about the application. We'll invite the applicants up to add any pertinent details, and have a chance to ask them questions. We'll open it up to public comment, and then the commission will deliberate. With that, we'll have staff start with their report.
Yes, it's on.
All right, well, good evening, commissioners. Thank you all for being here tonight and for your attendance at Monday's site visit. For the record, I am Warren Stanbrook, Community Development Director. And tonight we are considering application PLN 26-022, a request by Peter Edwards of Clearwater Enterprises to rezone approximately 379 acres in the Austin area from agriculture 35 acre to residential 1 acre. Slides.
It's just saying loading.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very strong.
The applicant seeks a conventional rezone of 3 contiguous parcels. While the current zoning requires 35 acre minimums, the Res 1 designation would allow by right development of 1 acre lots. The conceptual plan outlines an initial 97 lot major subdivision called Gunnison River Ridge, covering about 42% of the site. while leaving the remaining 218 acres for future Res 1 expansion. The property is located along Shea Road. To the north is Highway 92, and to the south is the Gunnison River Canyon Rim. Currently, the area is transitional. It's bounded by BLM land and larger A35 rural residential tracts. According to Chapter 8, Section 4 of the Land Use Code, the proposed zoning district as applied to the subject property should be consistent with its land use designation in the Delta County Master Plan. When we look at our 2018 master plan, this area is designated as agriculture with residential interface. The master plan envisions modifications to smaller scale agricultural zones like A5 or A2.5, but it does not envision the higher density Res 1 development proposed here. Currently, Res 1 is reserved strictly for areas adjacent to municipalities where infrastructure and public facilities are centralized. Another criterion of rezone approval is that adequate public facilities are available to serve development in the proposed zoning district, or reasonable assurances are provided that adequate public facilities will be made available to serve new development by the time the new development places demands on the facilities. One major hurdle is the water supply. The applicant intends to use Golden Eagle Water Company. However, the will serve letter is based on assumptions that are not verified through a statutory water report. Jumping to 97 homes triggers a legal reclassification into a state-regulated public water system. We have not received the mandatory CRS statutory water report, and the purveyor's will serve letter is actually capped at 90 taps, fewer than the applicant's plan requires, which also does not account for the total projected number of lots within the approximately 160 acres depicted for 4 phases of development, nor the approximately 220 acre outlot for future Res 1 development. Without the water report, it is unknown how much water would be left for development of the 220 acre outlot and the remaining 616 acres owned by Clearwater Enterprises. The water report could be provided with a preliminary plat, but rezoned to Res 1 for 380 acres will have already been approved. Another concerning technical finding is the soil. 97.5% of this property is rated very limited for septic absorption. This is adobe clay ground with high shrink swell potential and very slow infiltration. Placing 97 individual septic systems on 1 acre lots here creates a high risk of effluent daylighting or surfacing. The applicant's proposed seasonal aerobic units have been deemed likely unfeasible by state health coordinators for our climate, so do not resolve the wastewater treatment questions and risks. These factors raise questions about whether a Res 1 density is appropriate or feasible, and postponing a geotechnical or hydrological investigation report until the preliminary plat imposes upon the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners the decision to approve a Res 1 rezone without having this matter settled. Traffic safety is also a factor. Shea Road's intersection with Highway 92 is complex, with multiple feeder roads converging near the highway. CDOT has stated that a full traffic impact study is required for a subdivision at this location. Without it, we cannot verify when acceleration or deceleration lanes will be triggered or how early in the subdivision development highway improvements would be required. Staff previously recommended the applicant process this rezone concurrently with a preliminary plat. By decoupling them, the applicant is asking the county to grant the high density entitlement first and figure out if the engineering actually works later. This shifts all the regulatory and planning risk onto the county. Once it's rezoned to Res 1, we lose our legal leverage to manage the density. Under Land Use Code, Chapter 8, Section 4, the Commission must find that specific criteria are met. Based on our analysis, this application fails to satisfy policies regarding hazard mitigation, master plan consistency, and the requirement to provide reasonable assurances that adequate public facilities will be made available to serve new development by the time the new development places demands on the facilities. In addition to facilities providing water supply, wastewater treatment, and transportation, public facilities also include 1, fire protection and emergency medical services. The proximity, response times, and water fire flow infrastructure like hydrants or filling ponds of the local fire protection district. 2, law enforcement, the capacity of the county sheriff or local police department to patrol and service the newly dense area. 3, school district facilities, the physical capacity of local elementary, middle, and high schools to absorb new families without overcrowding. And 4, pedestrian infrastructure, including trails, easements, and open spaces. Consequently, planning staff determines this application is premature. We recommend the commission forward a recommendation of denial to the Board of County Commissioners with suggestion for the applicant to apply for a concurrent rezone and preliminary plat based on the formal findings regarding unverified water supply, severe soil limitations for wastewater, and the deviation from our master plan. I'm available for any questions, as is Sean Gardner, who's here and, as you know, has been working on this case for a long time. It's been complex. There's a lot of history here, so Sean is also available to help answer questions and provide any other context you all might require. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Orin. I do also want to mention that we did, for the record, there was a site visit on Monday, June 22nd. Many members of the planning commission were in attendance. Commissioner Watson, Commissioner Queen, Commissioner Enholm, Commissioner Darlington, Commissioner Merrick, and Commissioner Motz were all present at that point, as well as Commissioner Coover. There are some notes that will be entered into the public record that were transcribed from that site visit. We were briefed by the applicants about the general nature of the application, shown the location of key infrastructure, and given a tour, so a drive up the road that's in existence currently. Does anyone have any questions for staff at this time?
I don't know who I'm asking.
Either one.
Sean's the expert on this
Well,
case.
The proposal and prepared goes into 3 different parcels, is that right?
The rezone AI encompasses 3 parcels.
It encompasses 3 parcels, but if you look at the part that we inspected the other day, where they've already got the lots. Sure, here,
We can probably pull it up for you right there. Okay,
okay.
almost there. There you go.
Where there's an existing road, it if you follow the existing road as we did at the site visit, do we travel into the 3 different parcels?
Yes, I mean, we followed the area that's in pink pretty much. What
Right.
they're outlined in
Okay,
pink
so that's why this other 217 acres
is the green portion.
and that has to be included in the rezone because
You
the part
can't,
that they want to develop immediately is gonna be in 3 different zones.
right, you have to rezone the entire parcel, not a part.
You can't just rezone that one section and
Right.
develop, is that right?
Mhm,
Okay.
Right,
Would it have been, oh, sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
With a boundary adjustment, eliminate one of those parcels.
well, in a boundary line adjustment, you have to start and end with the same number of parcels. So it wouldn't.
It wouldn't, that wouldn't fall.
You could reduce the size, you could take that whole area that's in green and the far eastern boundary and move it over to where the pink line is, but if you wanted to do something like that, yeah. Does that kind of get it?
Yeah, that, I just didn't, it seemed to me that that's why we're dealing with 3 parcels here. And why we're looking at 217 acres out there with no plan for it right now. That would be. The proposal would be that would all be res one now.
Yeah, there have been several replats of boundary line adjustments or lot consolidations
I'm aware of some of that, yeah.
historically on this property leading up to this time. But So it was just very recently reconfigured into the 3 parcels that are up here.
Okay. Okay. There was a mention in Mr. Stainbrook's description about fire protection, law enforcement, school district, pedestrian issues. And we don't have any input on those issues at this point, do we?
We didn't receive any comments from
Did you
fire
have-
department. Yeah, sheriff's office, fire department were all part of review agencies.
So we asked, but got no response.
Correct.
Cautious fire.
It would have been, I think it's District 2. So it might have been Cedar.
Yeah, mentioned this here, right?
Isn't it Delta's?
Peter is.
Peak
I think it's
I don't
District
think so, but they're the
2.
ones who provided the information on
Oh,
the
yeah.
Really?
fire
Yeah.
hydrants and stuff.
I don't have any other questions for the staff right now.
Did we request for a comment from Colorado Commission on Water Resources?
Yes,
Did we get a response?
yes. They, Bob Herford, provided comment together with the state headquarters over in Denver. It's near the end of the packet.
If I recall, the comments mostly referred to what the water system would need to do to come into compliance in terms of oversight and testing and whatnot.
It also said that, very clearly that, that they didn't have a problem with the rezone. But that for the preliminary plat, that a water report would have to be produced to verify a summary of water rights owned and controlled by the company, anticipated yield of these rights in both an average and dry year, the present demand on the company and the anticipated demand meeting commitments for service, all that would be required at the time of subdivision. Oh, and then, yeah, there was a name change or to the original water decree. I don't believe matches the name of the water company currently. But trying to find the section where it said that. Anyway, it's in the last 5 pages of your packet.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anyone have any other questions for staff?
I don't.
I have a question, maybe some insight. There was some mention at the site visit about what's the risk of rezoning this before we know all these details, because it'll shake out in the wash, you know, the wastewater will have to be approved by the health department. If there's places that you can't put a septic system or it needs to be engineered in a different way, that can happen. Especially in regards to the kind of unplanned area, the future Res 1 area. What, in the staff's opinion, would be the risks of rezoning this area if in the future it can't be developed into residential 1 acre lots due to those concerns?
There you go, Warren. There's your question. I think it's a fair and good question you need to ask, because maybe there's no risk here. Maybe, what's the problem with it? You can all conjecture yourself what could be potential risks. One possible thing is that, the area that's proposed to be, in the concept plan subdivided into, 97 or so lots, or maybe less, accounts for some portion of the water decree. What portion of the water decree we don't necessarily know, because we don't know I mean, we weren't provided in the application how much water is in the water creek or how much supply and all that stuff that's in the state report. When comes time for the subdivision. So then what would be left over for the remaining 220 acres outside of that concept plan area is kind of unknown. At least by me, I don't know how much it is. Maybe somebody else connected the dots and did the math and did the calculations or something, figured it all out, but it wasn't really provided. So we don't know if there's adequate water supply then even for the proposed rezone area of 379 or so acres. That is one of the, to have reasonable assurance that public facilities are, adequate for, the proposed development when demand is put upon them. And I don't know that we know that. I think it looks like there's a lot of water. There's a lot of water available in the water decree, I think. And there's also a lot of pipe in the ground. And we went out there and you ask questions. I don't know how we know if there's enough water for all that.
What is the water decree? Do we have a cubic feet a second, gallon per minute that they can pull out of the river? What is it?
I don't know if it said in the DWR letter, but I didn't receive anything in the application that said, and the applicant may know off the top of their head.
Did I say 1.6?
Seems like such the answer anything.
So we will invite the applicants up to ask further questions, at this point.
It does say in the
Yeah.
DWR letter, the shape pump and pipeline is agreed for 1.66 CFS. Conditional for domestic lawn and garden irrigation and in-house commercial, and is augmented by releases from the Mesa Reservoir. Use of this water right is limited to within the Shea Water Company's service area and the following developments: Shea subdivision, Beavers development, Gunnison River Farms, and 40 additional residential taps to be located outside the Shea subdivision on a contractual basis.
Question after question.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna dovetail off of hers for just a minute. We obviously have this large 300+ acres. They're looking at developing only a small section of it currently right now. Are you concerned about the implications that if they were to rezone or get a rezone for the entire parcel or property, I guess we'd call it acreage? What the implications would be if they could not provide water or services to the other phases if in fact they developed them? I mean, wouldn't that fall on them when they're selling it, that if they don't have sufficient whatever, whether it's engineered septic options or soil, soil testing that's gonna hold these homes, et cetera, would they not be halted to go further? Or do you think that the rezone of all of it would allow them more openness to kind of go as they go? And I know that's kind of a vague kind of a way I said it, but.
Well, the rezone gives them legal, ability to create lot sizes that could be down to 1 acre in size, but the development of those lots would be subject to let me back up. To subdivide it down to 1 acre lots, in order to, record the final plat, they have to install water taps.
Correct.
So at that point, you would find out whether or not there's water or not. So if it were rezoned, and if then after the rezoning, the property were sold to somebody that thought I could maybe develop this as a subdivision and get 1 acre lot sizes, that would they'd have to do their due diligence to determine whether or not they had, adequate water to parse out to however many, if it's 379 acres, I mean, theoretically you get 379 1 acre lots. I'm sure that that's not possible, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
And so, at whatever subdivision configuration the subsequent developer would bring to this Res 1 property, they're gonna have to prove before they can record a final plat and legally create those lots, that there's installed water taps for those lots. Now, there is not the need to have put in a septic system. So there isn't necessarily, it's not necessarily known if that 1 acre lot is gonna, you know, what kind of a septic system is gonna require until somebody goes to build on it. And at that time, that person will have to come in for the septic system, you know, permit, and not to bring an engineered design. And the engineered design will be the time at which you'll know whether or not you're gonna need some really, you know, a mound system, or if the native soil is gonna be able to receive all the leachate, you know, and have a conventional septic system. But I would suppose that in the subdivision process too, there would probably be a requirement to look at things like, well, what if you put a bunch of 1 acre lots over this terrain and they all had septic systems? Does that affect in any way the soil stability and the structural integrity, you know, of the area to build that many houses in proximity to one another? And that kind of thing would have to be worked out in the preliminary plat process, I think. That's all that comes to mind. Those, so there is the potential for this to maybe not have be of any harm, to just let it, you know, be approved to rezone. But I'm just thinking out loud, you know, we don't know things. There's information that's not known about whether that density could be supported in that soil and that landscape with septic systems and with the water rights and that are available. And it would be nice to know that, I would think, but we don't have that information conclusively. We just have to kind of string together what bits of data we have and make a determination of whether or not reasonable assurance has been provided that adequate public facilities could be available when development puts a demand on them.
All right, and then in regard to wastewater treatment, I also just wanted to mention that we did receive via email a copy of the letter from the engineering firm stating they thought it was feasible to provide wastewater treatment for this proposed subdivision.
I didn't see that. I tried looking for it, I tried to open, so I haven't seen that.
Could we maybe pull that up? I feel like that is a pretty substantial addition to the packet for folks to see.
There you go. Yeah, Kate, I'd like to.
Yeah.
But can I ask a question of Sean then while we're looking?
Sure,
while he's
yeah.
doing that real quick, but Sean, in reality, if it was rezoned Res 1 and the infrastructure didn't support it, either the water supply, the septics, they could develop them into larger lots to meet that, correct?
That's right.
Is there any downside that I'm missing on that? If they ended up having to do 2 acre lots versus 1, does Res 1 give them some rights that they wouldn't have under 2 acre, or will that get fleshed out during the subdivision process?
That would get fleshed out, I think, during the subdivision process. I mean, they could go to larger lots if the engineering doesn't support that density, I think.
Okay, and we don't ever go back, right? I mean, you don't ever, we wouldn't rezone it Res 1 and then
No.
down the road,
It's rezoned.
it's done, so we're not gonna go there. Okay, yep, that's
That's
what I
kind
thought.
of.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you. Sorry.
The other thing is there is this, you know, stuff in the land use code about, for example, all applications for rezoning shall meet the following criteria. The proposed zoning district as applied to the subject property is consistent with its land use designation in the Delta County Master Plan. At this moment, it's not, but then it continues, it says, or an amendment to the Delta County Master Plan prior to or concurrently with the approval of the rezoning application. And so that would have to be done. And I mean, I'm supposing that the master plan, and they did it in 2018, they weren't probably, the consultants that were working on that weren't aware of the infrastructure that was in the ground out there. and the prior development that had happened, that may have been overlooked, so I think that that's overcomable is what I would say.
So on the OWTS, I agree completely, like the feasibility is not really the concern. I mean, they can put systems in the tank that treat the effluent before it even goes out. Like if the budget is there, it can be done. Here's my concern. When you look at the way these lots are shaped, with this type of soil, the footprint of the evaporate field can be quite large. So then the question becomes, how much room is left to build a home? And if we have these lots that are rectangular and they're longer than they are wide, you could end up with a bunch of lots next to each other with leach fields all at the back of the lots, where you have no space between them, where then you have that condition where all of this water that's coming out is now cooling at the same area. My concern would be, yes, it's gonna be feasible, but that the amount of space remaining on these lots to build a home, to have a 1,500 square foot wall, and to have a driveway, to have access to your home, things like that, would make the 1 acre lots not appropriate. And rezoning to R1 to then find out like, oh, okay, we're not gonna be able to do this, maybe it needed to be whatever, like that's what my concern is, and that's why I feel like, oh, sure, even though that information generally is determined at the subdivision level with the preliminary plat, I feel like that information is really important for us to at least have Black Canyon engineers go out, dig some holes, do some perk tests, and say, for an average size 2 to 3 bedroom house, this is the size of field that would be required on each of these lots. Here's the amount of space that will be remaining to actually build a home. Does this make sense? I think that would be really important information for us to have.
I think the sequence of how things happen too is important to understand. I'm not sure that, I think it could be imposed at the preliminary plat stage or the subdivision stage to come up with that engineering report, right? And then that could control the lot sizes subsequently and make them have to be bigger if they need to be bigger. It would need to be done, because if not, then what you would do is you would approve a bunch of 1 acre lots and then you'd sell them, and then the person going out to develop them would find out through an engineer that, oh, you're gonna need this big soil treatment area, have a lot of room.
I think I'm going to request that we kind of reserve discussion around this until after we hear from the applicant.
Okay.
They might have a little bit more to share, or, some rebuttal of that. I think there's plenty, I think we're all interested in kind of discussing a little bit more. Is there any more question of staff before we invite the applicant up? All right, with that, I'll invite the applicants up. I'll have you introduce yourselves, whoever of your group wants to come and speak. Am I right that you have a presentation you'd like to share?
Yes, I'll just give you.
Okay.
Introduction or?
Yeah, if you can each introduce your name and how you are related to the project.
Great, I'm Todd Herrick. I'm both partners with Peter and an applicant, and I'm the neighboring property for the past 27 years.
I'm Peter Edwards, the applicant. We've had this property now since 2023. And that's it.
Lisa Santulli, also applicant, assisting.
All right, do you have a presentation you'd like to share, or anything you wanna jump into right
Well,
away?
I'll just mention that Pete is gonna just speak and follow kind of his own, I guess replies to what you all have been discussing, kind of prepared.
Mhm.
Do you ask questions in between or?
We'll kind of see, I think we'll see how it goes. If there's some major clarifying questions, I might interrupt, but, we'll let you kind of share what you have to share and then we'll ask some follow-up
I'm
questions.
just gonna share a couple of kind of supporting slides.
Okay,
Sure.
Okay.
Just that you guys have been talking about the water rights. I thought we're pretty clear about it. 1.66 CFS is enough water to serve the equivalent of more than 3,000 houses.
It's 1 million gallons a day.
It's a large water right. And, we've all been out there, together, I guess a lot of us were anyway. And, the area that you guys saw is ready just for every aspect of it. Other than paving and getting things done and setting up the new lots. All the utilities are there, just need to be services hooked up to them. With plenty to do all the houses that we're talking about. I've got a little thing, I'll just kind of go down and she can, and we'll, some of the things that you were asking are kind of already in here. As far as what you were asking about and, the size of the lots and if there's enough room, we're sure that there is. And we would look at, maybe some lots are too thin or whatever, but those things will be worked out with the engineers. And, when you get up into higher areas of that place and it starts to get, elevations are changing. We don't really know yet, how those lots are. We're pretty close to it, but that's just a sketch drawing. Sure. And so as, we get this, to me, it's this is just where you start. You get the zoning first. And then once we get the zoning, then we have a very detailed land, development that we're gonna be making application for. And it gets very detailed then. And so everybody will see that, how that goes along. The engineer letter that you got, and we've met with quite a few of them. And most don't see a problem with, all don't see a problem with being able to put, a system on a 1 acre lot, even though they're all together, there are, and you'll see as I go through here, we'll talk about some of that stuff. So anyway, thank you, for allowing us up here to make this presentation. The first fact is that you're here to determine the viability of our rezone application based on the adopted land use code. This is not a major subdivision application review. The process is the same, but not required information is the same. So that's in discussion of, now we're looking for zoning and what we have to do next. I've been a successful real estate developer for 45 years. I'm now a part-time Delta County resident for about 3 years. Whether it's Delta County or any other place in the United States, there are written course of action required for county, state, federal requirements by law and without exception for these courses of action. Before I address specific comments, from Sean and I guess is the previous director now, I'll share a little backstory of how we got to where we are right now. In 2023, that's the first time I came in and met with you guys here and in a pre-development meeting. We pretty much had everybody on staff. At that time, Carl Rasmussen was here. And you guys were working on the new Res One rezoning, hadn't happened yet. And that Res One is why I'm here, why I've always been interested in this property. 5 acre lots, came close to being done. You guys had all this done and all approved in a very big master plan covering the whole 1,050 acres. All that's out there and built was built for that master plan, which included all of it. We've discussed, how much water is there, whatever, that plan was about 150 lots at 1 acre, but it also included a very large amount of commercial property, including a gas station. And so what's built there is designed to cover all that. What we're asking for now is a small amount of it. We were in our first, meeting, Brittany Haining and Kate Kirk and everybody else was there at that meeting. And, everybody seemed very receptive, to what we're doing, which makes sense because you're asking for, you're changing your stuff to 1 acre lots. And so I was fitting right in with that, and everybody was very receptive to the whole idea. And so after meetings and a couple of, discussions and back and forth, it was decided that I should wait until you actually have the zoning done here. We have it in your ordinances. And so made that decision then to wait until that happened. Of course, we didn't think it would take 2 years. So in 23 is when I actually purchased the property. And in March of 25, Res One had been adopted. About March of 25, you guys actually got it adopted. So right after that, I came in and I intended on submitting plans for the pre-developed area that you guys toured. That area that you toured is a development that's been pre-done and is actually there and existing. And so that when I came in then, that's what I intended on getting zoning for. And so I filled out the zoning sheet and made application for that. And had sketch drawings for, back then it was about between 105 and 120 acres total, which is pretty much that area that you toured. And so I filled out my application and left that there. That was back then, that was approximately 84 lots. So I filled that out and left it I attended a meeting with Sean out at that and Kate Kirk was there so I filled this out and I was asked to come back and meet on it again, a pre-submittal meeting. We had that meeting and Kate was on the phone. And so she was on by voice, and this, like I said, it was in 25. During that meeting, Sean, I think, had only been here, been the new director here for about a week. And that's why we got to the bigger area that we're in now, is because at that meeting, under that direction, I was, Kate said that you guys didn't want to do small like slivers of Res One. And so there, I've added the entire parcel that we're looking at now. The reason it's the size that it is because there's, I pulled up and looked at the GIS, our numbers, and I just included that section, which included the part that I wanted to develop. So with that addition, that became about 345 acres. And that acreage became about 388, or where we are right now, with the addition of Todd's property up on top. I completed the application, submitted a check from my company, Development Design Consultants. The next week, I was contacted by Sean, who explained that he had saved my check and wanted to have a meeting with me and his county surveyor, Kenny. At that meeting, he laid out a plan to do a simultaneous development submittal. It was a phase submittal, and so we met on that and discussed it. And shortly after that, I let him know there's not something I could do without assurances, and asked him to continue the pursuit of the zoning only. Now that's been over a year. I just kind of realized it today when the other day when somebody said, well, Sean's been here a little over a year, and I go, oh man, that means I've been doing this trying to get this done for over a year. But here we are now, so that brings us everyone to the current application process. And so I have one more thing to mention before we get to the director's comments that we're going to discuss here. It's important for everyone to understand that when the council approves a rezone, there's nothing that allows me or any other developer to build on that land without first getting major subdivision application approved. So that's the point where engineering and geotech and traffic studies and final plat and every other detail required by the counties submitted and reviewed. This is also where I would be turning in to you guys my HOA docs, CCNRs, with respect to building standards and maintenance requirements. I was discussing this, with hearing you guys talk about, well, what would be the detriment of having this area zoned? And I kind of suggest maybe you would maybe make some adjustments to your own ordinances for Res 1 so that you're not somehow hurt by somebody being able to do things out there that you think wouldn't be appropriate or whatever. Meaning that if you said, okay, Res 1, maybe we don't have mobile homes, or maybe we so that it already has, whoever's doing Res 1 has to have CCNRs for the property before they do it. That would kind of maybe keep you safe. You were saying if some other developer bought it and now it's already zoned Res 1, then that developer could do something that makes it unsightly or whatever, So that kind of brings everyone up to our current application process. One more item to mention, to address the planning director's comments. It's very important for everyone to understand that the council approves the rezone. There's nothing that allows me or any other developer in the future to build that land without first getting a major subdivision application approved. That's where all that, like you guys are talking about, that's where all of it comes out. We've got to prove that we can, it's a major application. You just have to prove everything that you have to do at that time. This is where all extensive engineering and geotechnical surveys, traffic studies, final plat, and other details that you need for that time. It's also where, like I said, with for us, we're gonna show you our CCNRs and our HOA documents. rezoning only opens a door for the subdivision process. Along the way, revisions are made. We'll collaborate with the experts in engineering and as a county for the most appropriate solutions in that phase. At this point, I'd like to address the planning director's comments. My first comment is to make sure council understands that Res 1 is not high density. Yeah, Res 1 is 1 acre lots, and it's actually the definition of low density. So that's a low density lot that we're working on. At this time, I'd like to address the wastewater density concerns. With wastewater, specifically the standard for exposing people, that's your issue with this, is that's the part where the standard of not exposing people or personal property to unmitigated natural hazards by providing reasonable assurances. That's where your issue is about what could happen, on as far as the wastewater on each lot and how many of them there are and that sort of thing. As you can see on the slide presentation, the designation of very limited soils is not a prohibition on the development under state law. It is simply a regulatory trigger for all engineered higher level treatment HLT system. CDPHE Regulation 43, Table 10.1 outlines the engineered solutions designed for these exact soil types. So, I mean, what that's saying is, and my engineer is saying that he will have solutions for whatever he finds on each lot. And there are a lot of different ways to approach it. You guys know you do the over the ground with the sand and whatever it takes. You're Tony, right? On site, Tony mentioned, he said, I'm not gonna vote yes unless you get out there and dig those holes and get this testing done, kind of like you're talking about. And we're a little bit late for that, but it is something we're gonna have to do. And as far as whatever it takes to mitigate those, a matter of cost, you mentioned the cost of it. Whatever those mitigations are, we'll be able to handle them. If any of these parcels are inconsistent with recommended capacity, the proper higher level treatment solutions are applied. The solutions strictly follow CDPHE and county statutes in compliance. Is Wyatt here today? We have here Wyatt, you guys met out there. He's from Black Canyon Engineering. He'll speak briefly about the specific solutions used throughout the area to meet or exceed CDPHE requirements. But before we hear from him, I want to make it perfectly clear that my intention is not to make light of this criteria. It is in fact to assure you that we are fully aware of existing conditions and are prepared to meet all of the county's land use code requirement. But penalizing this application for not providing the finalized engineered septic permit at the rezoning phase is inconsistent with the Colorado Revised Statutes 30-28-133, which clearly places the burden of the specific wastewater engineering at the subdivision phase. At this zoning stage, the law requires evidence of feasibility. We provided evidence via stamped preliminary feasibility letter from Black Canyon Engineers stating that individual OWTS on 1 acre lots are viable. If an engineer licensed by the state of Colorado is willing to put their stamp on feasibility of this site, the county can't arbitrarily rule unfeasible to prevent a zoning change. Clearly, septic testing is part of our next steps to present a complete subdivision application in alignment with the county's prerequisites. This should give you guys 100% reasonable assurances. That's what we're always talking about, reasonable assurances. Now, I'd like to move on to discuss the water, which you guys have brought up here. Let's discuss the water. The director was concerned about the water supply and infrastructure. He specifically calls out extensive upgrades needed to transition to public status. That's when I reach 15 customers, I need to become public. To say that we have need extensive upgrades is incorrect. The transition to public system is mostly generally about the testing and reporting. That's the major change that we'll make at the water company is that testing and reporting to the state. The system as it stands is robust and can easily handle with very few upgrades, if any, the initial phases of the subdivision. It was designed and approved for the entire subdivision of over 1,000 acres, which included not only 150 homes, but also commercial uses, including gas station. Those commercial uses are a great deal more water needed than the 150 homes that they had back then. That should substantially support reasonable assurances. Once we have zoning approval, then the engineers will make recommendations for upgrades to the water if needed. That's when the water engineer will come in. And we have all the engineers that worked on this in the past and have these big reports. We've contacted all of them and they'll be helping us with as we continue. The fact that Bob Herford, the state water engineer, had no objection to the proposed rezoning should be a reasonable assurances on its own. To confirm the current relevance and ability of the system supply the new subdivision without massive upgrades. We heard on site from Deb, who owns the company that built that system in the first place. She built the whole thing, and she's let you guys know that that's still the type of system that's used today. So it's a good system and it's ready to go.
It's been maintained.
It's been maintained, and for 25 years, it served customers all around us. And so it really is made for what we're doing, plus a whole lot more. Somebody had mentioned on on our walk or whatever, our presentation Monday night, that there was only 150 houses, when this was first built and everybody approved it. And that we're asking for an area of 400 acres almost. And that 400 acres could, turn out to be 300 houses. That's a very small part of what this system can do.
And what the water right can do.
The water right is an incredible good water right. It can do a lot of things. The equivalent of 3,000 homes is, going to take you wherever you want to go. And that we want to continue and keep that water right going. We wouldn't want to lose that water right. It doesn't go away. What happens is somebody else will get it. We have it now. We want to keep it. We want to keep it in this county. That's the really important thing to keep in mind. All the prerequisite which including state testing and reporting, will be executed exactly as the state requires. That's also, I would say, further reasonable reassurances that we have what we need to do, what we're asking. The next issue found by the planning director was the lack of traffic study in final plans with CDOT. Sean refers to the intersection as troubled intersection. Probably have on the screen here that there, in the past 10 years, there's been 2 minor accidents at that area, so,
That's a CDOT crash report.
yeah. So, you know, I see that, and when I first got here and looked at it, I see that intersection as about as good as we could ask for. It's, you can see in either direction pulling out at least a half a mile away up the road. There are no driveways and turn-ins for a long ways in either direction.
The CDOT's gonna determine it.
It will,
I mean,
CDOT will determine it, and, Sean refers to trouble, let's see. Well, just like water and septic engineering, detailed traffic engineering is legally bound to the subdivision platting process, not the zoning map amendment. Actually, model traffic impacts for the subdivision that hasn't been physically designed or platted yet. We're prepared to complete all traffic studies during the subdivision application process. In fact, we have already begun traffic counts out there. We're working with traffic studies engineer Jerry Hodson of LSC Transportation Consultants, who did the original traffic study. In the original traffic study, there were no changes needed for the entirety of the pre-development area, which included 20 homes. When I say the pre-development area, that's the area that took everybody up, which now is gonna, you know, maybe have in the 90 home range. You know, because now it's become 1 acre lots. And back then, when they said that they didn't need any changes for that first area, there was also a gravel pit in operation back then. So large trucks going in and out, which now don't exist. So we really think that the CDOT is not an issue to us. We'll work together with CDOT to update the specific milestones, the turn lane requirements for future phases of the subdivision. Electric, cable, and gas are in place and ready to service lines to the lots. They're just ready to connect to.
let's get that.
Okay. In conclusion, the area that you toured Monday night's a pre-developed subdivision. It's a subdivision that is what I would call a shake and bake. It actually exists and it's ready for updates and to add the lots to. All utilities are currently in place, only electric and water are required for development. We also have natural gas and fiber cable. All of it's underground. That's modern. There's no overhead on any of that subdivision area. You have letters from each provider and reassurances from professionals. Your hard-end Red 1 ordinances are going to create a prosperous county on land that's not suited for any other uses. This is you should be reasonably assured at this point. We're gonna make a beautiful subdivision out of this. In that area, what else can it do? it's not farmland and it can't be used for any other thing. So we just think it's the, you know, the perfect solution for what's sitting there right now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Edwards. I'm gonna open it up to the commission to ask any questions they have of the applicants. After that, we'll have time for public comment if there's anyone else in the audience who wants to add to the story. We'll just kind of go around the circle. We'll probably be follow-up questions after that, but Tony, do you want to start us off if you have any questions?
What year is your water at, what year was the water at fire?
In the eighties is when it first happened. And then it was, what you read is, it has been actually redone when we took over and we had the plant inspected by the water commissioners. And they gave us another until 2030 to get some of the work done through there.
But actually,
Go ahead, son.
it's actually, so it's a junior water decree.
It's a more junior, in the hierarchy, but compared to 1940, it is more junior than
Sure.
that. But it's certainly, you know, if you look at the state letter right now, I mean, we're making statements, or there was a statement made that could be 2,000 or 3,000 homes. Obviously, you're gonna have to get new letters from the state each time. So right now, there is, you know, a comfort level and reasonableness for what's on the table right now without an issue.
What contingency plans do you have in the event that a more senior right makes a call on the river?
Up there, I mean, we don't really have a contingency plan for that. We don't see that happening. They just got through giving us.
As you know, we are in a new world, and we're taking this, you know, we just spent time with the state on this whole thing in the past month, and we just re-upped this whole water right for a new 5-year period till 2030. And, you know, if those types of things start to happen, as you know, ag gets called before domestic. So
No,
you wanna read the state letter?
There are 4 senior water users on the Hudson River. Thank you. Uncompahgre Valley water users have a 1,300 CFS senior right dated 1901, worked in time first in use. There has been discussions about them needing to make a call on that this year. There is currently in Delta 670 CFS in Denison. They can make that call and everything goes away.
And I'm not, I guess I can't sit here and discuss or debate or argue. I can show you a letter from the state that we just did. And they are saying it is okay to move ahead with this plan. So I'm way familiar with what you are discussing. And I have ag water rights and old 1930 and 40 water rights as well. I can, you know, all I would rely on and the reasonableness is what we currently have from the professionals at the state that just said, this is a reasonable plan to move forward.
And from a planning perspective, I think it requires us to do more diligence to specifically ask that question. I'm disappointed Bob Kirkford didn't address that in that point. Because I think it is becoming a very possible reality for the fish companies to start making these calls on the river. And as a county, we can't allow a subdivision like this to end up finding itself in a situation where if this drought worsens, does not improve, or even 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, all of a sudden there is no water available for you to put into your system to deliver to these homes.
And these are much larger discussions than we're having right here.
Right.
Obviously, there's the huge packs going on, and I don't disagree with, we're all here every day, and I hear you.
Back to the adequate.
We've already-
We have to do.
We've already had one town run out of water from the last 5 years.
Yeah, I can't debate that. You know, we've got a current letter and we feel good about it, and the water right is for a much larger subdivision than what we're proposing right now. If when we go down the road, at that point in time, they say, you know, I'm comfortable with that, then they'll say it, but they're not saying that now. As of 30 days ago.
Did you provide that letter? Did we receive that?
Which letter?
The
From
part-
Bob Herford.
Whatever one,
Well, you, the letter from Bob Herford.
what letter are you talking?
I believe I'm talking about Bob Hereford's letter, and then I believe we have another one. State up in Denver.
That's exactly what we have.
Did you provide that application
Yeah.
packet?
Yes,
The decree,
you received that directly,
the decree.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
I don't have any record of your decree in your application packet.
Yeah, you actually noted, you made notes of it.
Bob Herford referenced your decree and gave the case number.
So did you?
That's, so we gave you the reference number and the decree from Bob Herford. I think you had it in the beginning too. In the very beginning, we definitely,
This,
yeah.
this latest application, though, did you provide me the actual decree?
I don't
know that.
recall.
Yeah, I mean.
So
I mean,
the
it
thing
seems like
is,
that's a question from you're questioning a will serve letter from another party, you know. If you want the decree, we give you the decree. I mean, that's no problem.
My question about that will serve letter is that in a lot of your conversation references the 97 lots or the 90 lots. But we're considering a rezone of a potentially more than 300 1-acre lots. And I'm wondering how much conversation there has been with these providers about this, if rezoned, could be 300 lots, not 97 lots. No one seems to mention that number when they say they can provide the infrastructure and the resources needed for a rezone of this scale.
that letter has just been revised from Golden Eagle Water Company. And, you know, as far as we know right now, there were no issues about us doing this, as you heard from Bob Herford.
But again,
The thing-
we what we see is that there's mention of the 97 lots. There's never mention of we can serve in excess of 300 lots. Whether someone says you have enough water to do that, you know, I don't know. Todd might have some insight into that. The rest of us aren't familiar with converting CFS into
They have
residential
1 million
taps, but.
gallons a day of water. That's what, it's a little over 1 million gallons a day.
That's what they say.
No, that's, I can do the math, it's 1.6 C's. It's 12,000 gallons a day. The problem is the age of the decree. If for some unforeseen reason that we start getting calls on the river, or Lake Powell puts a call on the Colorado River or whatever, these are all what ifs that we have to ask. Their decree is not a senior decree, and they may have to not suck water out of the river.
Could happen.
I don't know if that's ever gonna happen. Are we approaching that? Yeah. One other thing I wanna clarify with you, I didn't say I'd vote yes or no for this.
Mhm.
I said it'd be nice to have these questions answered for tonight.
Okay.
I can sell 30 of these lots in the morning,
Agreed.
because I have that many, I have a notebook full of people looking to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of unanswered questions here.
Mhm.
So they have plenty of water. It's the date of the decree. And if we were in a normal weather cycle and it was snowing and life was great and wonderful, there would be no issue.
No discussion.
They have about 800,000 gallons of storage, a little over that, 820 or 30.
The 750 raw
750,000.
and 80,000 clean.
So if they built out the whole 300 and however many homes, they would have water depending on, how shit, for about 3 to 4 weeks that they could have stored up. If it's completely built out and if nobody's conserving water. So, I mean, and when they put a call on the river, you don't know when that call gets better, changes, usually it's the following year. So that's a concern.
So in general, when we go to now do, the subdivision submittal, we're gonna have to get those things
I know.
done. At that point, we're gonna get our water engineer to tell us what we need to do, and that's gonna get approved, to that point for however many houses we're going forward that time.
I think, I'm just throwing darts at the board, so don't take any of the first one. It's just if we have some legitimate answers, it would be easier to do this res one, because it's harder for us to go from res one back to A35. Is that right or wrong?
I don't think we can.
You can't, I mean,
Okay, so that's the problem. If we screw this up now, we're stuck with it. Somebody's stuck with it.
But some of these questions are, I don't wanna say ethereal, because they are real. There's no doubt the water world has changed for all of us, and I agree. But it is not, if we comply with what the state is saying, if you guys are gonna sit there and say, what else? If you're making a statement to Delta County right now that we just don't trust you can't pull any water from the river anymore, even if you have a water right, we're making the judgment call.
Well, I had a customer that bought a lot under his realtor's whatever. Best what, it had a well on it, everything was good, blah, blah, blah. Turned out it wasn't. So we had a whole, so there are things that come up, even though everything was done correctly.
All right, Tony, I'm gonna allow the other commissioners, some chances to ask some questions. Dave has a question.
Staff is looking for a statutory water summary report. Why don't we just get that? That would answer all these questions, I would think, and it also would handle the issue of, going from a private water company to a public, state regulated public entity. That's one of the findings that staff says is inadequate. How difficult is that to get?
So we have spoken with the state, and the state actually has also communicated, and we are in communication with them. We know exactly when we have to meet those standards, at what milestones. It's clear. I mean, it is code. It's not like we're making up those rules. It is actually listed exactly what needs to be done at what milestones. And
If we had that now ahead of time, so we can look at what state is requiring, what it will cost, and that, yes, it's feasible, that maybe would answer some questions. But just to listen to you folks say, well, this will serve, 1,000 homes and this and that, and then, there are concerns about drought. It's hard for us to make a decision. Staff has found that there should be this water summary report submitted. It's not there yet. If we need more time to do that, if we continue this for 30 days, maybe we could get that report. Maybe we could get a little more information. Just a thought. But the code requires the planning commission to find that there are reasonable assurances that adequate public facilities will be made available to serve this new development. And as Kate pointed out, we're talking about this other 218 acres, which could be a lot of other Res 1 lots. And I don't know that we have enough information on that, but that's what we would have to find to support the whole rezoning.
may I just say one thing, please? Or am I out of turn? Do you have to call on me? We were fortunate to have studies that were done from the old Shea subdivision that was approved, which was, as Pete said, over 1,000 acres of, yes, it was 5-acre lots. Yes, it was only 150 homes, but it was also a giant amount of commercial. There was a gas station, which the gas station alone requires more water than just the 150 homes in itself. So these are not, we cannot use them, but we had the great fortune to be able to use them in our due diligence. Right here, we have from a company that is still in business, Delmonte Engineers Consultants, right here. This is an engineering report on the domestic water distribution system. This we did not submit, but it's part of a supplemental packet that after we had our initial, not the meeting on Monday, but we had a meeting with the county as well on site. everybody said, oh, throw that in, please let us see that so we can have something to pull from that's factual. Right here, there is LSC, who we are currently working with right now for our traffic studies. This is a completed traffic study. We are actually not, unbelievably, Delta hasn't grown that much. We're not all that different from what it was back in the day in 2007 when they did this. This is another company, drainage report completely. It's not a little report. I mean, we have all of this information. I'm not saying that it is 100% relevant now, but what you're hearing from us is not only based on a lot of years of experience and our own careers, developing, obviously following the rules, the codes, whether it's in Delta or anywhere else. We can't move forward without getting approvals for all of these things. So, but we've also had the opportunity to study these reports. We've worked with Westwater Engineering up in Grand Junction. We had very long conversations with them. Filter Tech, as Peter mentioned again, came, reviewed what we have on site. Yes, there will definitely be, small modifications that will need to be made, but nothing that prevents us from being able to supply at least the phases that we're looking for. And if, we base our facts and our ideas on, well, will there be a UFO landing tonight? We could decide whether or not we're gonna have water next year. We don't know, but we do know that we're set up today. All of the statements that Tony just, provided us with, he's talking about actual existing. That's not even augmenting, upgrading, that's right now, today, what the capacity is. So I just wanted to add that we are not shooting from the hip. This is based on a lot of discussions with engineers for many, many, many months. The good part of that, we've gotten to start to get to know all of you. We know what you expect and we know what is required of us. But we really truly feel that at this stage right here where we are for a rezone request, we have provided an immense amount of additional information and assurances for the rezone application. We have to move into subdivision, finite details that we're gonna bore you all to death with that, but that's gonna come with the engineers. And you're gonna be able to say, there's that stamp and it's from yesterday. There's that letter, and it's from the day before. So I just really wanted to reiterate that this is not, hey, let's write a little speech, and it's a lot of very specific information taken from information that was actually approved back in the day.
So we seem to have, the extra area is mentioned a lot as an issue, to rezone that 218 acres. And it may not be used, may not have enough water, whatever. I kind of covered that in here, why we're even doing that. When I came in, I wanted to just develop the development that's sitting there that you guys drove on and walked on. It's a pre-done development. And I'd be happy to, that's how I came in the beginning. And then I was, directed to do a bigger area. And it makes people more comfortable to just rezone the area I wanted in
So
the
how do
first
you carve
place.
out the green?
What's that?
So how do you remove the green? Because we have to include total parcels, right?
Yeah, no, we're interested in making that in a phased, very schematic phased loop. And again, when we were on the property the other day, we also saw that it gave us a perfect opportunity to create a fire road, a secondary access. But again, that will be done in stages, and it's going to be done in stages with all of your help, because we need you to help us get through the subdivision planning stage. So everybody that's at the city.
So my question is, would it help your feeling on this if we do nix the area that we haven't designed yet or don't have sketch drawings of yet? Would it help you to just do that original pre-developed area and along with the part next to it, that's another 45 acres. That 45 acres is important to us because it makes the whole thing, I'll be able to loop it and get another road down.
Yeah, but the big green, if you put it on the map, that could,
So I think, I mean, I'm speaking for myself, not necessarily everyone here, and, we might discuss this, but, I don't know that my concern is, or I would say my concern is having concrete proof that there are public facilities available to serve every single one of those potential lots, including what you don't have mapped out yet. And while you're giving us verbal assurances that there's enough water and, feasibility statements from engineering about the wastewater treatment, I think staff's finding is that that's not sufficient proof to say, if we rezone this as Res 1 and you sold all of those parcels tomorrow, and the next guy subdivided off 50 acres of that 300 plus acreage and wanted to do it, that there would be the feasibility to serve all of these potential lots, whether or not you guys are doing it. Because you guys don't necessarily know what those plans are, and we have your word that you're gonna do this right. But land doesn't always stay with the owner of doesn't stay with the applicant of these types of applications. A rezone is a legislative action that will carry on to this land whether you own it or not, whether you stay true to your word or not, whether you sell this off to someone who might not have the same plans as you do. And we have to ensure that there is water, sewage, emergency response for this acreage, regardless of who develops it. So that, I think, as people are asking for some more detailed information than you think you are required to give at this stage in the game, I think that is where we are coming from. Because your plans sound great, but your plans also don't include a big chunk of what you're asking to rezone. And
So
that's a big unknown.
I'm gonna throw this out there. 2004 or 5, there's been 35 acres on your road down to
Yeah.
your property.
that Jack sold off early on,
Yeah, we did a foundation out there and a leach field out there, and there was significant soil problems, significant. The leach field was 100, there was 2 80-foot long leach fields on one of those, there was 2 of them side by side, about 25 foot in the middle. There were significant soil issues, significant. Then that leach field was astronomically stupid to make that one house work. That was
Where are you
20
talking
years
about?
ago.
Down
the
by
two
the
river five by the airstrip down before you get to my place.
So, and I mean, I did the work on them, so I know, I don't know if where you guys, that's why I want the engineer to go out, dig these 10-foot holes and see if we still, cause I don't know in that half a mile or quarter of a mile as bird flies, if the soil changes.
How old was that?
2004 or 5, I don't remember exactly.
Not to mention how much the regulations in the state have changed since then. They've gotten more.
Well, we didn't have engineered, those leach fields were designed by the health department, not an engineer.
Right.
So if you have an engineer design them, I can only imagine what the hell they'd be. And if you're talking 160 foot by 60 feet wide, that's your leach field, that takes up half of your acre.
Well, not if you use aerobics, because it actually decreases the amount of space on the property that you need, and the effluent becomes much cleaner.
I understand all that,
It's just a higher level of treatment.
but that's why,
That's why you get engineered.
if I get, it goes back to what Kate and Dave's been saying, and we got the cart in front of the horse here just a little bit. If we had a few of these answers, this would be a real easy deal to approve, and there is a need for what you guys are doing in today's world in Delta County. as a builder and whatever and all the crap I do here, it'd be nice to make sure we don't make any mistakes.
All right, Lance, do you have any question of this?
You covered almost everything.
How about Lane?
No, I have a lot of questions about the permeability of the soil in those leach fields. And I'm kind of skeptical about the ability to absorb them, but it's Tony's kind of addressed that for me.
I think you took care of some of my stuff, these two did. So, my
All right,
question.
all right. I have a
So,
couple
In my
further.
opinion, to answer your question wouldn't be very difficult to do. You can't do it today.
No, I know.
Yeah. It
Um,
wouldn't be very difficult, but then, as far as the water, that's not difficult either. I mean, what he mentions is that, you know, hey, that we could run out of water rights and they could change all this. I mean, if that happens before we get the houses built, then we're not building houses. I don't see that happening, but if it did, then we can't build those houses.
I mean, I agree with you there. All we can do is get what we can get from the state in reinforcing the water right that we have. And then if, you know, you guys are gonna, if you guys are saying there's a moratorium on all, you know, domestic water rights pulling out of the river, that's a decision you guys are gonna make.
That's up to Bob Herford, that's not up to us.
Okay, well,
Right.
so we feel we have. But that's not what I'm hearing from you guys. You're questioning what he provided.
I don't.
I'm with you guys, I may interject a couple of things.
Yeah, I think we will have a conversation and there might be a motion put forward to table this with a concrete list of things we're looking for.
Okay.
It sort of seems like that's where the conversation is going. And it's good to hear from you guys that you are potentially willing to get some of that. I understand that it's financially prohibitive to get all of your ducks in a row as though you're doing your full subdivision application, but I think there are some kind of key details that people are interested in seeing maybe before that subdivision application comes through. One question I have, Mr. Edwards, that you mentioned that at the site visit that, the original subdivision plan was for this Golden Eagle Landing or in phases before you took ownership were for more like 5 acre lots, and that wouldn't be financially feasible to develop because it would make the lot too expensive. My question is, as you're talking about, well, we can just do any sort of engineered septic system that will make it possible. Is if you are concerned about lot price, is this project feasible if the engineer says each one of these sites needs to have an engineered septic system that's way beyond, kind of the norm and increases the cost of the development to extent that you're now putting a 1 acre lot at twice as much as you thought it would be. Like what kind of threshold have you determined? Or if the engineer says 1 acre is too small, we can't fit these septic systems within these lots.
So we have a pretty good comfort level with the 1 acre and our discussions with engineers on the septic. And just speaking to like Jack Shea's plan and then Marosco of the 5 acre land. I've lived next to this for 26 years and I never wanted to get involved with 5 acre adobe lots with no shares of ag water. Nobody needs 5 acres of it. It just blows up junk. But a really nice 1 acre lot with nice CC&Rs is a nice feasible attempt. The utilities, the paving, the whole thing is way more feasible than that. To do 5 acre lots spread out there with no ag water, nobody needs 5 acres of adobe. I'd rather have some open space like we discussed about and nice 1 acre lots. And we've got to deal with the septic and we'll get them engineered. If they have to be 1.5 acres, some of them have to be, reworked like that, then we do it.
That's kind of combination also besides the septic, it'll also come into play when we work with the engineer on the final plat. We just have a sketch right now, so when they start taking a little bit closer look, for example, some of the older drawings that you can see the slope areas as you go up that hill. you might not get 1 acre, but that's a minimum. If you start with the res one, it's a minimum and it's a standard that you can't build less than that 1 acre. We already know that not only Delta, but many places in the United States allow way less than 1 acre aerobic or septic. However, we're working just right here. It's a minimum 1 acre, and if we feel that because of the slope or because of what the soils engineer says, or because of what our engineer who's drawing the actual lots and the way that it lies on the slope, if it becomes 1.5 acre or 1 3/4 acre, or even up to 2, it's not a rezone. It is, we're using the minimum res one, and that's where the lot will be drawn, how it will be drawn for those reasons. And that is what gets recorded. Nothing can get recorded until everybody agrees, this looks healthy, this looks great, excellent access, and it all works. But we wouldn't even bring something like this unless we could provide that to you. This is just the first step.
So to address your question, you know, he talked about it.
Yeah, I talked over him, so.
Who wants 5 acre lots? That's a very reasonable thing that he just said. That's not about how much or anything. If you have a 5 acre lot and you have issues with your septic system, you still got to spend a lot of money on that 5 acre lot for that septic system. So it doesn't change that. But I can tell you this, if it weren't for 1 acre lots, I wouldn't be sitting here. There's no way I would even thought about coming to this place, nor would he.
Yeah, I opposed Jack Shea's plan back in 2004 of manufactured homes and 5 acre adobe lots with no real CC&Rs or HOA. You know, I do
You know
feel,
where that was going. That's
yeah, I do feel with the res one and the strength of the water right, and I don't know if it'll ever go beyond the 100 lots. But I have a high degree of confidence from the letter and talking to the state that we're gonna get 100 lots in there. And we're gonna be able to have an augmentation plan and the tanks and feel good about it.
That'll take quite a
And it'll
bit
be
of time to do
beautiful.
that. You know,
And I don't know how we, you know, it seems like it would be, if we sold off that remaining parcel, and I understand. You gotta protect yourself no matter who the developer is. Any developer is gonna have the hurdle of proving that they have water and septic, anybody's gonna have to do it.
Yes, but if we rezone to res one, we are then, and that plot of land then becomes undevelopable into 1 acre lots, we are then limiting for future use, because there are things that you cannot do in this county in a res one zone that might be appropriate for that acreage. So that's one thing that we're balancing. You're, from your perspective, there's no risk because you have to do your due diligence
Yeah.
for a future plan. However, if you sell off a chunk of that land that's now zoned as res one, there are things that then cannot be done on that land. So I'm not saying one way or another if that's the best, or I'm not even contending that you're incorrect about whether there's enough water and you can do the septic. But there is a risk. It is not risk-free to rezone a piece of property.
And I guess, go ahead.
who's risk, who's got a risk? I don't really understand if you say this is res one, we have to now go through everything it takes to develop that into res one.
If it never happens, that land has been encumbered by a res one overlay. And you couldn't do something else with it.
You couldn't have a small animal feeding operation.
Right, and
You
I guess-
couldn't have another gravel pit. You couldn't have a gas station.
So you
These
saying
things,
you couldn't rezone,
You could.
if you have res one,
Well,
land, you can't rezone it? That doesn't.
so
sound-
someone could then apply for a reason, a secondary reason, I
Sure.
suppose. I don't know what, if there's a statute of limitations.
Absolutely agree. You can change it to whatever the guy comes in and says, I'd rather have 2.5 acre lots. Of course, you could rezone it to 2.5 acre lots, or to farmland, or whatever. I mean, I don't even understand that, what you're trying to say there. You know, if it's res one, I buy it, and it doesn't work for res one for me, I'll say, this doesn't work, how about 2.5 acre lots, you know, whatever.
But if you rezone
Rezone.
everything as res one and sell off a portion of that land to someone else, and they say, shoot, there's not enough water or septic systems don't work on this land, or there's whatever. Someone says you can't develop it into 1 acre lots. I wanna rezone back to Ag 35 and I wanna put a small animal feeding operation on it. It comes back to us and we say, well, now there's a big subdivision next door with 97 lots and they're not, a rezone doesn't fit with this area anymore. I'm not saying any of these are super probable. I'm just saying that it is not without consequence to rezone a piece of property, especially without the plans in front of us with what's gonna happen.
I understand that a few more specifics are needed, but I really would like the county to look at that 100 lots in that first phase as a real, and that's what bothered me about Sean's report and what ended up in the paper, as a real asset to the community. There's not a lot of pieces of property in this county that have that water right. You're not taking away farm ground. All the infrastructure's in, and you can actually get people something decent for 60 or 70 grand, 1 acre. I really, everything here is not really considering what an asset the thing is. And actually, Peter enlightened me to it. I've been living next to it for so long, and I didn't like the 5 acre and where that.
I don't think we're disagreeing about the asset. I think there's a huge asset to what you guys are doing.
Right.
I think there's a huge plus to the community. I think we want 2 pieces of information. Some clarification on the water rights and get the soil report done.
Okay.
And so we have that in front of us and then we make the decision to move ahead.
Okay.
That's what I think. Am I wrong, Kate, or is that kind of?
That is what I'm hearing. I want to make sure we're kind of following procedure for this hearing. Is there any further question of the applicant before we move on to public comment?
I have one comment though, that to clarify when Peter asked.
And could you, I know from our site visit that you're a part of, the applicant, but can you, introduce yourself for the record?
Art Powers. I'm not in there.
All right.
I just have a quick comment. He asked about the green portion of that map a minute ago, if we cut that off. Well, this commission has the power to approve a boundary line adjustment. So that is an option for the board to consider now. If we just want to consider lots that are already plotted out there and you are more comfortable with cutting that green out, you guys have that power to approve that boundary line adjustment. But yeah, it's that process, but you have that power to do it. If we agree to that, if that's our middle ground to agree on, that's also something we can consider.
I mean, to me, that's a non-factor. I mean, we can, if you're uncomfortable with the amount of that, this hadn't been designed yet, that's fine. We got plenty to do.
We do it.
We have plenty to do on the one part that you guys wrote out and looked at. That's there, it's sitting there, the asset's there, the roads are there, the roads are in great shape after sitting there for 25 years. It is a great asset and it shouldn't just sit there and look like it did. I mean, before I got there, it had some, we just took away that ugly thing that's been sitting up there for so many years. I mean,
That's sexy trailer.
What this is gonna be is pretty and people are gonna want it. Like you just said, I'll sell 30 of them right now. I can't imagine that we do have the water. You just turn it on. You can hook up to it and turn it on right now.
So I agree with what Tony said. I think we want to see this happen. I agree it's gonna be an asset to the county. There's no question that what you're trying to do is gonna be beneficial. I just think there's a couple pieces of information that's missing for us for our assurances. And if you could get those for us, I think we can.
Is that what you're saying?
I think we just need to decide on exactly what those pieces of information are for us. And then.
All right, so at this point, I'm going to say thank you to the applicants. Are there any members of the public that would like to make comment on this application? I'll have these folks sit back down and I'll have you come up and introduce yourself.
Thanks, everybody, for your patience and coming to the site.
Thank you.
Our builder here.
Oh, you can have my seat.
Somewhere where the microphone will catch you.
My name's Austin Roller. I'm actually a builder in the area. I have experience with water pump design. I went to water pump design school outside of Chicago, and I've done a bunch of building in the area. This has been actually kind of fascinating for me. I don't really have like a big dog in the fight. I kind of wanted to see how this was going down, but in the way of utilizing the land and just as a little bit of expertise. I am not an engineer, but I've done a lot of work with a bunch of the geoengineers around. A lot in the Western Slope, Montrose, actually even Uray, but mostly Delta, Montrose and Mesa County. I've built in a bunch of Manco Shale as far as the structure goes. We often have to do a bunch of like over digs and bring in class 6 like structural fill because of that. But with regards to the septic stuff, pretty possible with even bringing in some kind of soils. That's what the geo engineers that have been designing have mostly done around here that I've been working with. And it just allows that absorption field to be an appropriate size. And we've done some here already in Delta. I've done some in really weird areas like Rubidoux Canyon. And so some of that is really possible, but I don't disagree with the soil samples and the testing. The Manco Shale is pretty interesting dirt relative to other items. And so I think it's certainly possible at a normal level in a normal field as a builder. That I think that the 1 acre lots and the septic systems required for that would be there. I guess one of my questions is just like it was good to hear that the county kind of likes the idea and just wants more information, but I didn't know what the county wants from the land. Like, what is it that you guys see the land being utilized for besides that? And what would be, I love the foresight of 1 acre lots for areas that aren't developed. I think that's really good to think about because people should be able to use their land how they want. Whether it's, how it's been zoned. So I think the foresight's very important from a builder perspective. But what else does the county, like in the master plan that you referred to, what do they want it to be for? Like, is all that mapped out in the future or what does that plan look like?
So in your-
Land,
Oh, go ahead.
future land use maps map out what I think was most probable for the area, not necessarily what was desired for the area. So I don't know that the master plan answers that question.
Okay.
And of course, I mean, you go around the room here, we all have like maybe desire for that area. And
Sure.
I don't think anybody, like everybody said, is opposed to seeing that in a development. It's obviously not very good for agriculture.
Right.
For the soil, but so I don't think there's any opposition.
Gotcha.
It's just exactly like they said, just a little more
Little
information
information, yeah.
to ensure that there was reasonable assurance that public facilities would be available when demand is put on.
Fair. He's interested in buying lots out there, and so that's.
I am, yeah. I think we have a huge growth in the Western Slope. I just see it all the time. I mean, you've mentioned being able to sell lots.
He said 30.
Yeah. It's certainly interesting to see, there's an influx in Delta County. I just wonder whether this happens or not. Like, what is there's gonna be people coming to the table that wanna build developments or communities. Like, I think there has to be some forethought in that process too. Like, how are we gonna manage?
We'll say one other thing.
Sure.
The Res 1 used to be urban growth area, the
Mhm.
UGA.
Yeah.
That's what it used to be called. And it only was on the periphery of all of our existing municipalities. That was the place where we have the UGA, urban growth area zone.
Yeah.
In the 24 land use code, we changed all that UGA zone to Res 1.
Okay.
So it's very much in the mind of everybody that was involved in that, thinking of that area, that zoning district as being adjacent to municipalities.
Yeah.
With water, sewer, road circulation, all that. So it wasn't really prepared to receive a Res 1, zoning district, rezoning application apart from a town. Okay, so there's just a little bit of, there's a lot of thought
Yeah.
going around in everybody's mind, like, does this have the public facilities and
Mhm.
support services and such as you would have adjacent to a town. And typically, in all those places where we used to have the UGA,
Mhm.
now is Res One. We also have intergovernmental agreements with the towns where we would do pre-annexation agreements with the towns. And so oftentimes, those would end up being annexed into the towns. So then you have all the towns, building codes,
Mhm.
infrastructure and everything coming to bear on the development of those
Yeah.
areas. We don't have any of that.
I seen that a lot in Mesa County.
We don't have
Grand
it.
Junctions annexing stuff like crazy, you know.
Yeah, well, we don't have anybody annexing
Yeah, I
that
got you.
area.
Got you.
Okay, so we're not prepared for that kind of development out there. We don't have a lot of
Interesting.
controls over how it could go down,
Mhm.
you know, and it could go any which way but loose, you know, 'cause we
Yeah.
don't even have building code.
What is the next level up from Res One?
A 2.5.
A 2.5, okay.
But that's.
Yeah, I understand.
So Austin, when,
Mhm.
I don't know if you were out there the day of our.
I was not out there Monday night, but I
So-
have seen the property.
I addressed Mr., I think it was Herrick, correct, sir? Todd Herrick, right, okay.
Mhm.
I pass that a lot, because I have a piece of mountain property past that. And, I will agree that I think having it more smaller than a 5 acre, especially in Adobe, is much more attractive. I think also, you said that it would not be, prefab or manufactured homes, these are gonna be
Correct.
stick-built homes, okay?
Correct.
That very much excites me to see something like that. The other thing is that I really am a proponent when you're putting in that much mass density within that area of having open space.
Yeah.
Forever Wild, whatever we wanna call Boulder, they always have nice names for it.
We have plenty of property.
But, wait, and okay, but I mean, just what I'm saying is I like that when you have that kind of an impact in that area. And I think we just have a few clarifying questions, I guess would be the word I would use, that I think that if we could address, I think we could better make a recommendation or a motion with those. Would you agree, Sharon?
Yeah, so I think if there's no further public comment, we'll kind of wrap things up with our own internal discussion about kind of how we see moving forward here. So thank you so much for. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, you're welcome to stick
You're
around and
welcome.
listen to the rest of the conversation. You know, we kind of need to vote in one way or another tonight.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's some.
So there's a fine vote.
I mean, we have to either vote to table it, or we have to vote to approve or deny it, or, you know, recommend approval or denial to the BOCC. I mean, my goal is to wrap this up fairly quickly. I think we all are, you know, about ready to go home, and it seems like there's some consensus amongst the group. So I'm hoping this isn't gonna be like another hour of conversation. And yes, I encourage you to stick around until we kind of figure out what that is. But I'll close public comment at this point.
Right.
All right, is anyone ready with a motion right now, or do we need to hash anything out?
For 30 days, which I think we can do. And allow the applicants to supplement their application. I guess if they want more time than 30 days, perhaps there's a procedure where they agree to it, we can go longer, but within the statutory scheme, I think we can continue it unilaterally for 30 days.
Without having to renotice it.
Yeah. So that's my suggestion. What I would like to see is this water summary report provided by statute. And that will address the fact that you're gonna have to take this water company and turn it into a state regulated public entity. And it would sufficiently serve this acreage with the Res One designation. That's one thing I'm looking for. I think other people have other ideas as far as what needs to be supplemented.
All right, I just want, just kind of as, you know, procedurally, are we ready to really make that motion, or do we want to talk a little bit more about what those other points are before?
I think we need
Yeah.
to make it, but
Okay,
So.
yeah, let's discuss kind of our list and then we'll allow either David or someone else to officially make that motion with the language of that. list.
already
Yeah.
put 30 days is more than.
Okay. Lance.
The OWTS. Copy and reporting. I don't know what the exact terminology is, the soils.
The soils report done.
Soils report.
A soils report that would more clearly indicate the feasibility of the OWTS systems on the
There and any building, any foundation issues or anything.
Is there anything else we're looking for when these folks come back in 30 days?
Yeah, I would like to see a copy of their decree with the priority dates. And a copy of a Division of Water Resources augmentation agreement showing how these homes get water. If the Gunnison River goes on call.
Okay, copy of water decree with priority dates and a copy of, sorry, will you say that one more time?
Division of Water Resources augmentation agreement.
The letter from the state engineer for Division of Water Resources outlines kind of what they would need, and it includes, I think, those things. A report from the company documenting a summary of the water rights owned and controlled by the company, including evidence of ownership or control of such water rights. B, the anticipated yield of these rights in both an average year and a dry year. C, the present demand on the company and the anticipated demand due to commitments for service entered into by the company that are not supplied. D, the amount of uncommitted firm supply the company has available for future commitment and development. And E, a map.
Could you repeat that word that you said? The amount of what?
We have that.
This letter, I'm just reading right from Bob Burford's letter,
Oh,
well, not Bob
I'm
Burford, but the
So sorry.
state letter, yeah. I mean, I think that would maybe address everything, would it, Todd? I don't know.
I did not.
It's the very last page of, like the last page of the report. Page 76.
But he also, in the beginning of that, the state also says they have a favorable.
It says the state engineer has no objection to the proposed rezoning application. However, at the time that a subdivision application is referred to this office, the following information must be provided.
Exactly. So
I still want to get clarification. I know the applicants feel like this is just like a far off thing. I deal with dish companies every single day and how close they are to making calls on that river and understanding the backlash they are going to receive from drying up 5 miles of gold medal fishing waters when they have every right to do so. It's a very serious decision that they're taking, and I do not think that we are very far away from it. I would like to hear from Bob what happens when those we've got irrigation dish companies which are senior. We have a Redlands power generation facility in Grand Junction, which also is senior. If this river is at 600 and however many feet, 670 CFS adult right now. If they're in a call placed on that river, it is gonna go low and dry. And I would like to know from Bob, what happens?
But we'll get what we can get. As you know, there's much larger conversation. Yeah, what you're asking for, we'll get what we can get in the next 30 days. But I just want to highlight, you guys definitely got to look at your process, because the state says right there, at the time of subdivision.
Mr. Herrick, we have closed public comment now. And we are discussing amongst ourselves what would make us feel like you've met the requirement to provide assurances that these resources are available. I understand that the letter says that that's what they will need at the time of subdivision. We are discussing amongst ourselves what we think we need at this time to prove that, to give us the assurances that we want. In summary, Todd, you want a copy of the water decree with priority dates and a copy from the Division of Water Resources of an augmentation agreement that would detail what happens when more senior rights make a call on the river. And then you want a copy of the water decree with priority dates and a copy from the Division of Water Resources of an augmentation agreement that would detail what happens when more senior rights make a call on the river. And then you want a copy of the water decree with priority dates and a copy from the Division of Water Resources of an augmentation agreement that would detail what happens when more senior rights make a call on the river. Do we want to add anything else that is listed in this letter? I think a summary of the water rights is covered. I mean, I think I don't, is everyone feeling decent about if the water rights are in fact in law, what they say they have, that they have enough water for this area? We don't need them to get a detail.
Conversion to a public regulated entity may require something that I don't understand. It may require additional storage or something. That could be a solution.
Correct. Anything else we want to kind of put on this list of things that we expect to see in 30 days? Right. Is anyone ready to make the official motion?
You've got the list.
Okay, all right.
Laura made the motion to
Or
continue
you'll,
to 30.
so David make the motion to continue.
With, to allow the applicant to provide additional, to supplement their application with the additional information that we've discussed here right now,
Okay,
centering around the domestic water and the septic OWTS system.
okay. Any further discussion needed? All in favor? Or we need a second, correct? Seconded by Commissioner Enholm, all in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, with that, the motion to continue this application for another 30 days. So you can supplement with what we discussed. I will email this list of language to the staff, and they will email that, they'll communicate that so that you're clear on what we're expecting to see in 30 days.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Detailed presentation, thank you.
Thank you.
I think with that, we are adjourned unless anyone else say anything else. All right.
Personal.
That's how I got. That's the party. All right, meeting adjourned.
Thanks.